I help you? Sure. Come in, have a seat. My name is Kim, and I am the sensory support specialist here. Okay, sure. So if you like, I can take you through the checklist of some of the sensitive overloads that can happen when you are a highly sensitive person, or when you have a tendency toward being very sensory seeking. And we can talk about some of the ways that stress shows up for that, and some of the ways you can manage that. Okay? So, there is some scientific research behind being sensitive as a birthright, you could say. But I think all of us at certain moments of our life experience this sensitivity. And it can be different triggers, different reasons for it. And of course, they're usually triggered by a few different things, essentially. So, it can be your genetics, your environment, your parenting, your school. These things can trigger you to be a sensitive person. But it is not necessarily clear what it is that causes this sensitivity specifically. When it comes to how this sensitivity is experienced, it is through your 8 senses. So I wonder if you thought that we had only 5 senses. Yes, there are a few more, and maybe we can talk about those at the end of our chat together. But I think it's best that we assess you here and now as to whether you might be experiencing a sensory overload. How does that sound? Yes, and then we can get into some of the benefits of being sensitive. And we can also talk about ways to manage this when you feel it coming on. Anxiety and panic can be some of the signs of sensory overload. Headaches, pain in your body. You might even feel there is a more tangible sense for you that you're overloaded. It might be through the pain of a headache, for example. You might feel more stressed out. You might want to shut down, withdraw from any social interaction. You may have a meltdown where you kind of erupt like a volcano at someone or something. I think our society today would really do well to accommodate to sensitive people, or sensitive moments that everybody experiences, because they in general do have a lot of things that they can bring to the table, It's just that when you are overwhelmed by the lighting, by the smells, by the taste of some food, by the touch of somebody on your skin, or something, it could be clothing, it could be sounds, loud sounds, things like this. They can really make the body and the mind feel overwhelmed. And usually it is not necessarily that the person is having a very specific issue, it's that they're experiencing this overstimulation. And with this comes a lot of misdiagnoses, because the person might show qualities of depression or might have a moment of a lot of anger come through, when really this is just a sensory overload that's happening. Okay? Yeah. So when you feel yourself going into a sensory overload, or you're very sensitive to something sensory, or when you are seeking that sensory comfort, there's all different ways that it will show up. So if you feel like you can't look somebody in the eye, you're making reduced eye contact, you may be experiencing an overload. You might be fatigued and very tired. Sometimes we think that we are a bad person because we don't want somebody to hug us, or we don't want to have a conversation in a moment. Sometimes we can find fault in our character for these things, when actually it is the body saying no. Not the heart, but the body. And the body, of course, is our vehicle. And we need it in order to operate properly in the world. Obviously, we have all the faculties we can express ourselves with. But if we can also attend to our 8 senses as well, as much as is humanly possible, then we can restore a sense of relaxation, we can find balance, and also you can just feel at ease and feel joy again when you restore this balance. But yeah, I think self-judgment is a really big apple that sensitives like to chew on, and they also judge other people just as harshly as well. So there's not been a lot known about sensitive people up until recently. ASMR has really brought in a lot of awareness with it. Autism has brought through a lot of awareness with it. I think recognizing the times that we're living in, with so much machinery, technology, how it affects our brainwaves, how it affects our bodies somatically, the amount of information we have coming towards us now, the amount of sound pollution, a lot of contributing factors to these new things that are coming about. And it's nothing to do with being a snowflake that is just delicate and useless. I think that's an old paradigm that is getting shifted, because at the end of the day we're dealing with a lot more. These new generations are a lot more perceptive of things, some of them anyway, can be a lot more perceptive of things that others in the room might not be aware of at all. And we'll talk about those superpowers of yours in just a moment. But I just wanted to mention that this isn't a personal fault of yours, and as much as you want to maybe not be so sensitive at times, I think the world could use a lot more sensitive energy in the world. I think that nature would not keep on reproducing a sensitive sector of each species if it wasn't useful for something, even though we are the minority. So you're noticing some of these signs in yourself. Easily distracted, having a hard time focusing. Yeah. So, let's now talk about some of the atypical sensory patterns, okay? And some of these are basically what can be very useful to a sensitive person. So, a heightened awareness of external and internal stimuli. A lot of people that are sensitive might refer to themselves as intuitive, empathic, because they have a much deeper and saturated experience of both their internal world and the external world. A key note about that, though, is that if they are overstimulated, overwhelmed, their awareness shuts down because they can't take in so much information. And so a lot of public places with crowds, schools, hospitals, can prove to be quite difficult for them to navigate. So essentially they only have these heightened awarenesses when they feel safe, when you feel comfortable, when the environment is suitable to you, if that makes sense. So complex cognitive processing, where the brain can handle lots of information simultaneously. Again, this comes into play when the person is basically functioning well. You can take in a lot more information from your environment and make a lot more links in your brain than what some people would make with certain pieces of information. Okay? So it is a bit of hit or miss when it comes to whether it's a superpower or kryptonite. Okay? But I think the more awareness we bring to this sensitivity aspect of the neurodivergent sector of people that are on the spectrum, the more that the world will cater to these things. Maybe use a bit more of a calm setting, a calm corner, employ more mindful meditation techniques. Just simple things like changing the lighting, changing the music, will invite more sensitive people into the public sphere. And then we can benefit from some of the sensitive people's skills, okay, because they can be very innovative, very creative. They can see outside of the box when it comes to a lot of different things. And these are especially helpful in the workplace, out in the world where they're needed. But if the sensitive is overwhelmed by the environment, they tend to isolate, they tend to go very introverted. Well, technically, sensitive people are very introverted usually, but not always. So finding ways, if you can't get the environment to cater to your needs, you can find ways to cater to your own needs as well. So we're going to talk about a few things you can do. But yeah, creative and complex thinking leading to unique connections and innovative ideas is a really big skill of the highly sensitive person. In social situations, you can pick up on subtle body language, unspoken emotions, and power dynamics that other people just aren't paying attention to, maybe are less aware of, unless they're really looking for that kind of stuff. It can help detect unspoken social dynamics with precision. So, like I say, very helpful in the workplace, okay? And they also have an enhanced ability to process multiple layers of information. They can foster big picture thinking and wider perspectives, offering creative solutions to complex issues. So, I'm just going to do a little bit of a test with you, okay? We're going to go through your senses, some of them anyways, and just, you can rate out of 10 how much this sound affects you, how much this visual affects you, how much the smell affects you, things like this, okay? Like I say, everybody is sensitive at different periods of their life, at different moments in their day, and it's about finding ways to cope in those moments, especially if you have to respond to something in your immediate environment. It's about giving ourselves coping mechanisms. So, I have this beautiful love heart here. It is very, very soft. Okay, I'm just going to come close to your ears with it. And you can tell me on a scale of 1 to 10 what this feels like for you. So, some of the ways that you can cope when you have sensory overload. The first one is to breathe. So I'd just like you to focus on your breathing with me. This is part of the sensory test. Just going to do a body scan and send your breath to anywhere inside of yourself that needs more peaceful, calming energy. Just send your breath there, along with the notion that you are relaxing, calming, and soothing this region. Just watching this area stabilize as you visualize any stressful wavelengths, thoughts, or energies bounce right back off this area. Any muscle tension is just evaporating. Okay, so now I just want you to visualize a bit of a shield, an energy shield that looks like these colors. And it's surrounding you at a 360-degree angle, and any overwhelming sounds smells, textures, are just bouncing right back off these colors. Okay, so now that we've breathed and we have tried to tone down any auditory sound waves coming in, it's going to find something soft or squishy to hold. This can really help with making your body feel safe. So I just have this penguin pillow here, and this is just going to be for you to hold and squeeze. Okay, and you can just practice doing that to remind yourself whenever you're in a really stressful, overloaded sensory space, you can reground yourself, make your body feel safe by hugging the soft, squishy. I know that it's not always possible to deal with the overwhelm of looking or feeling embarrassed when we're using a soft plushie, but you should tell people about sensory overload and what it looks like, and you never know, the person that's judging you might actually need to hug or hold a teddy bear once in a while, a nice cuddly cushion. Okay, so I'm just going to give that to you. Touch, sound, sight, smell. Okay, so as a little final sensory exploration for today, I wanted to enlighten your smell and taste senses with something that is very pleasing for you. So I have a cold drink of kombucha with some lavender, and I can also offer you some chai chocolate, hot chocolate. So here is the chai hot chocolate. So it has cacao nips, orange peel, fennel seeds, cinnamon, licorice root, cardamom, calendula, and cloves. And I just add any milk of your choice. Would you like to smell? Smells divine. You get the smell. Okay. So I'm just gonna go and boil you some of this tea. It's hot chocolate chai. And whilst I'm gone, you can practice a couple things, okay? You can practice doing some balancing, if you will. Sometimes just doing a little bit of exercise or trying to balance can help our body to feel safe, okay? So you can stand on one leg and hold the other leg while you do a yoga stretch. You can balance on a board if you have one. Or you can just do some simple dancing. Just whatever feels good to you. Maybe a stretch would also benefit your body as well. Okay? I'll be right back. Enjoy. Okay, I have returned with some hot chocolate chai for you. It's not too warm, not too cold. Okay? It's for you. So one of the things that we can help you to learn and to do here is practice some body awareness. So sometimes we don't realize we're about to burn out because we don't have very good body awareness of how much energy and strength a certain task is going to take or a certain environment is going to require us to have. And so we can start off really good, really fast, really energized with a new project or endeavor, and then we can end up feeling really washed out, burned out toward the, even just a few days in or something like this. So when we practice body awareness, we're practicing feeling what our body is like within the space that we're in. And we practice feeling into what we could potentially do for ourselves. Sometimes we can just need to rest and not do a whole lot of things because we're using up a lot more strength and energy than we realize. And other times we can just be full of energy, and those are the days or the moments where you have a lot of creative energy running through you. But essentially the main thing we want to avoid is stressful situations where we become very difficult to deal with or want to throw everything away. Those are the moments that we have to practice that emotional regulation along with putting our senses at ease as much as possible. And sometimes that means just sitting there with no TV, no books. I don't know about you, but I have these to-do lists in my head sometimes, and by the end of the day or by the time that it comes to do some of those things, I just do not have the energy for it, which is very different than procrastination, by the way. Procrastination is if you're not really in touch with your dreams and your goals, you're feeling very lethargic about life in general, and there's nothing motivating you to do something. Whereas when you're burned out, you want to read that book, you want to do those things, but you can't physically bring your body to do those things. And sometimes we might use things in our body like caffeine to help us get through a certain moment, which if you're very strategic about, it can work out, especially if you have the whole next day that you can just crash and rest. But it is about becoming bodily aware and listening to yourself and developing that sensitivity, because the world teaches us to not trust our bodies and our responses, which can lead to a lot of self-hatred. So we have to sometimes go at our own pace, okay, and tune in to what you're needing. Even if you have a young child with you, it can be easy as a highly sensitive person to overdo do taking care of their needs. You can put yourself in a very burned out situation if you're over aware of somebody else's needs and not putting yourself first ever. So that's just something to be aware of. And I'm just so grateful that you came into our cozy calm corner today to discuss sensitivity towards sensory experiences, and I hope that we can bring more awareness to this topic and just find ways to relax and feel safe every single day and gain the energy that is required for us to fulfill our dreams. So, I wish you a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll let you enjoy your chai chocolate.